Everybody, and welcome to live stream number 39, people. Wow. Today is Wednesday. That means awesome Wednesday. I'll get to that in just a second. It is August 2nd, 2017. Wednesday, like I said, it's 3 p.m. Eastern. That's when we try to do these live streams. If you're watching this, you're watching the recording. As we haven't gotten anybody in the chat or in the live stream just yet. Really appreciate you taking the time to watch these live streams. Like I said, this is 39, so can always go back and watch some of the previous one if you're interested. Today's topic is we're going to talk about the animation space inside of Fusion 360. And if this is the first time you're joining these live streams, thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy day to do that. Trying to keep these about 15 to 30 minutes, a little bit off the cuff, just kind of like trying to add a little bit of value to you guys as you're going through the process of, using Fusion 360. I can see we already got a bunch of people in here. We got Bob, we got Sanjay, we got Jacob, Gary, Richard, Eric, people just coming in. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy day to join also the live streams. In the live stream, there's a chat, and people are communicating in there, helping each other out. It's absolutely awesome. Also, like I said, today is Awesome Wednesday, and you will see that today I'm wearing my DeResta t-shirt for a guy named Jimmy DeResta. What some of you guys probably know this guy, and if you don't, you absolutely need to be aware of what this guy is all about. Awesome Wednesday is where I kind of like share some of the people that I follow on social media or products. We've had a whole slew of those. You can go back through the live streams and see those. But we will get to Jimmy DeResta in the end, because a couple of people have suggested that we get to the announced topic up front and wait with all the other stuff in the end. So we're going to do that. Got people from Arizona. We can see we got people from Sweden. It's absolutely awesome. All right, let's talk about the animation workspace. If you have not been in there, and maybe you just went in there and kind of like went out again, it's a pretty neat place. Now let's switch over to Fusion, because that's where I want to be anyways, right? So some of you guys probably already familiar with this plastic injection mold that I created. There's a whole video series with this plastic injection mold. You can find that also on the YouTube channel if you go back. There's a 5 series, I believe, where I model this up from scratch. Also, be aware of that in the description area of that video series, you can find this model, so you can actually get this entire model and look at it. And I just realized, because this is live stream, I forgot to put Jimmy DeResta's link in the description area of this video. I'll definitely do that when the live stream is over. All right, so this year we're in the model space, and you will see that I have some mating aspects in here. So I created a mate, if you watch the video, where the mold can open up, and also the injector pins can kind of like come out here, and the mold can close again. Now the animation space lives in here. And I'm just going to go into it. I'm just going to click on and go into it, but I'm not going to touch anything right now, because that's maybe, I think, where many people, many times, if, I'm sorry if you guys have lag. I can see that right now. I apologize. Probably my connection, if anything. The animation space is really great to show how kind of things are either working or how things should be assembled. But if you've never been in here, there's a couple of rules that you need to know about. This is a little bit like learning to dance the tango. If you don't know the right steps, somebody's gonna be stepped on, and somebody's gonna say ow. So what you have in here is you have a toolbar up here. It should not scare anybody, with a few commands. Then down here you have this animation timeline. Now, be aware of that by default, when you go into this timeline, it's already set to 1 second. What that means is that if I do anything to this model right now, in regards to moving it around, that gets captured. So let's just hold down the shift middle mouse button and let's just move things around. And as soon as I do that, you will see that something got recorded down here without me doing anything other than rotate my model. And if I hit play, well, you will see that it kind of like did that kind of like movement I kind of like just did with rotating it around. So I think that many people get a little bit confused about this this workspace here. Now let me just go over and right click on this recording and hit delete. So now we're kind of like back to where I was before. This timeline can be, I don't want to call it dangerous because it's not. You just need to know that wherever this timeline is set, that is where we move things around. However, there is this red area right here. There is a red cupcake. I don't know what it is, but it looks like a cupcake. Red velvet cake. If you scroll the timeline over that, then now I can move around, spin the model around, and kind of like positioning it to whatever I really want. So that's definitely number one you should know about. That you can scroll this one. You can kind of take this timeline, whatever you are on the red velvet cupcake, as I have just named it. Then I'm sure that there's somebody at development right now just shaking their head. Then you can move around and you don't have to worry about anything getting captured in this timeline. Now this timeline down here is also called a storyboard, and you can see that we have a storyboard button up here. What it really does is we can create multiple storyboard. You can also hit on the plus sign down here or up here, same thing. So you can have multiple different plays in here. And like I said, why we're using animation is normally it's kind of like to show either how something works or kind of like how something is assembled. Then you got some commands over here on how to, you can do some different things in here in regards to moving components around. And by the way, that's important to say. It has to be components. If it's bodies, it doesn't work. This only works in a component environment like what this injection mode is kind of like put together on. So over here, you can transform the component. We did something about the move command or the transform command the other day. So you should be somewhat familiar with that. We can bring things back home. That's an extremely handy little tool. I'm going to show you that. We can also explode things in here. We can explode things into different levels. So explode just means kind of like blow out, like when you're buying a IKEA furniture, how we can do that. Then you can show hide components, which can be really handy too. And then you have an appearance icon down here that really works the same way as appearances does in a model environment. We could kind of like change things in here. We also got a annotation pin. What this does is it lets you create a annotation where you can put a little bit of piece of text. So if you're seeing this in the web, that it can kind of like come with a call out. And then the last button up here, well, then there's one called View. It's not the second last, I guess. You're going to see me use this one. It's kind of like Freeze View, but it's really handy. And then Publish in the end. We can actually turn this into a little AVI movie. We can share with people, so forth. All right. So that's kind of like the tools that is in here. Let's take it for a spin and just kind of like take a quick look at it. So what, for example, I could do was I could take this timeline and maybe roll it out to 2 seconds. And I recommend that when you do this in here with this timeline, sometimes it can be handy to actually make sure you get it clicked right on a number. So like here at 2, nothing is happening right now. But what you do is you move this timeline to the end of that movement you want to create. So if I go up here now and click transform, over here it's going to ask me, what do you want to transform or move? And I select, for example, this screw right here. We get the transformation or the move command, I guess. So if I take this and grab this arrow and move this screw out here, now I recommend, again, that you make these numbers something that makes sense. So maybe 220. And you can, I'm going to turn trail visibility on in a second, so I'm not going to turn it on right now. If I hit OK, you will now see that that move has been recorded in here. So go down and hit play button, and you will see that that screw comes out of there. Okay. Now you might say, all right, that's all cool, but a screw don't come flying out of a block like this. There is a thread on it. So we could actually, with still being in this position with the timeline, I could add another move to it. So I'm going to go in and click on the same component as before. And now I'm going to grab the rotating thing, and I'm going to rotate it. Now you can't rotate it like more than, you can't rotate a full turn. So maybe in this case I'm just doing minus 300 and hit OK. Now you will see the timeline never moved down here, but we got this rotation added right underneath it. So let's try to hit play again. And now I hope you can see that it spins as it comes out of there. So it gives us that 300 degrees from here to here. Now, another thing you should be aware of is we can actually grab the timelines down here and we can drag them. So I can actually drag this one down to 1 second. What that means is we're going to get the 300 rotations in 1 second. So if I hit play, we got the 300 degree rotations 1 second out, and then you will see that it just flies straight out the next second. Well, so what that means is that we could actually take this component, we could redo this rotation again, right? So if I go in and do a transform and select this component again, and I do another minus 300 rotation, then you will see I get a second one in here. So pretty much what I have done now is I have doubled my rotations. Now, you can now move on and do the next one. So maybe I move this one out another 2 seconds here and do another transform. Select this screw over here, kind of like do the same thing. Minus 220, and you will now see that I get that moving. Now you will see I get a little bit of an overlap. So if I hit play again, screw comes out spinning, and then the next one flies out. Well, if I want to control that, again, I can grab here and I can just shorten it right down to the 2 seconds if I want to show it like that. So that's kind of like how we can move things in here, change things in here as we are moving along. Now the next thing you can do is you can actually also so we could do this for all the screws, right, to kind of like show how we're taking them all out. We could add rotations on all of them. Another thing you can do in here is you can also show and hide parts. Now I'm leaving the timeline where it was when we just ended. Let me hit show hide parts, and let me select that first screw and hit show hide parts. Now when I do that, you will see that I get a yellow box down here. Let's hit play. Screw comes out, other screw comes out, and then it went away. So the light bulb turns it off right where I had that timeline. So again, you can grab things in here, and I can move the whole thing like this. I can also grab this thing and make the fade longer. So we're just grabbing the edge. So first screw comes out. Now see how it starts fading slowly away, and then the other screw comes out. I hope that this somewhat makes sense how you can do this. So one of the things that I did earlier that you maybe saw on Instagram was I kind of like did how this mold will work. So let's try that. So I'm going to create a new storyline. I'm going to leave this one in here. Create a new storyline. I'm going to click storyline. And up here it asks me, do I want a clean one or do I want one that starts from this previous one? Because you can actually have multiple different storylines, and then you can add them all together in the end of a movie. I'm just going to say I want to start with a clean one. So it's kind of like starting all over. Storyboard number 2. We still have the other one down here. Okay. Let's go to the new one here. Now, like I said, I want to first position this. So I'm going to move the timer over to the cupcake. And I'm just going to move this over here. And then let's open up the mold first. So I'm going to move over here. I'm going to move 2 seconds over. And now I'm going to open up the first half of the mold. Now, one of the things you will see is if you watch the video, I actually had selection sets for this in the model environment. For some reason, they don't come over in animation environment. I'm not supposed to if they were supposed to or not. But you can actually recreate them over here, and it's really not that hard. However, to be able to select anything on this model here right now in the window is a little bit hard without rotating the part. That's where this view selection comes in. It's also the C key. Hit view selection, and it says up here, view is not recording. That means that I can now move it around, just like I could with the, kind of like with the cupcake over here before. So I can actually go to my right view here, and let me just select all the components of the upper half here. I believe that is all of that. And then when I go back to click on view again, look what happens. It goes back to where I was when I selected it. Okay? So with everything selected, I'm going to hit transform again. Click that. And now, of course, I get this the same selection as we did before, the 12 components. And I'm going to drag that out. Oops, see, I forgot the lower insert here. So let me just go back again and select the upper insert is called. That's going to be there. So you can still control select or command select over in the tree. Let's try that again. Move that out there, and I'm going to move it out, I don't know, -220 again. Hit enter, and now you will see that all the different components in there have now, all the different components have now been brought into this timeline here. So if I hit play, we will see that the mold kind of like opens up as it's supposed to. Now next, after this, the injection pins, the injection plates are going to push out these 2 parts. Now to select all of that, I'm going to go back in and click this view so I can go back into the top. So now it's not recording. And hit the view here. And then I should be able to select all the, zoom in here, I should be able to select all these components here. So the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to window select here. See if I can grab all of the things here. I don't want these 2 though. Okay. I haven't quite figured out how to, all right, let me just hide these 2 for a second. So like this. There we go. There we got everything. Oh, why didn't I get the injection plates? All right. There we go. Now we got all the whole injection system here. Now what I can do is, just to make it a little bit easier, is I can, remember we did selection sets earlier in the week. I can actually right click here and say create selection sets, just like we did in the other one. And now we got, now those injection sets there are included. Now in this movement here, I'm actually also going to turn on the 2 parts because they are going to be pushed out with the injection pins, because they're actually pushing these 2 pins out here. And now I'm going to go back to view again where I was before. And then I'm going to move the timeline out another 4 seconds. Go to translate. And then I can move this out. And I think it can move out like 25 or 27 or something like that. Okay, now we didn't see anything happening down here, but that's because it's happening further down. Like now we got all these components. So this timeline just kind of like moves out further and further. So let's just hit play and see what we get here. So mold opens up, injector plate pushes out. Now these two parts are hanging in the air. So I'm gonna go ahead and let's just make this 1 second. And let's go ahead and select the two components right here, do another translate, and what happens in the real world is that they kind of like fall down here, right, to this point here, hit OK, and then they would actually probably go away. So let me just go in and say show hide like that. So let's try to hit the play button now. Opens up, mold comes out, part falls down, and then they disappear. Huh. Pretty cool, right? Now, what we can do is that now we want everything to go back again. So I'm going to move out another 2 seconds here. I'm going to go to my selection set. So now I just selected my whole injector pin, and now I can actually say restore to home. That's going to remember where that injector plate originally was. So now let me hit play again. Mold opens. Injector pins pushes the parts out. They fall away. Injector pins goes back. All right. And the last thing, of course, is that our mold is top half here is closing. And again, to capture those, I could have done a selection set. This time I was going to hit view again to lock the view so it's not recorded. And I can just highlight them all like that. I can go back to turn the view back on, go back here and say restore to home. And then we have created a environment where now the mold opens, part drops down, injector plate goes back, mold closes, and that would kind of like repeat, right? So I hope that this is kind of helpful to entering into this space here. Now, when you got what you want, you can go up here and hit publish video. And you will see here that you can choose which storyboard, all the storyboards, or just the one you're working on right now. And you can control what resolution you want to send this out as. And you will actually see that the resolution you get this out at is actually probably a little bit better than what you see here in the window. I believe that there is some renderings going on in the background. Oh, another thing I wanted to show also is that, like I said, we can actually go in here and we can do appearances. What works just like they would do in a normal environment. So you can drag and drop components in here. So if you wanted to color specific areas in here, you can do that. It works the same way as the model. It's not really controlled other than just apply those appearances like that. And then maybe the other thing that is nice to know is that you have this transform one. So let me create one last story here. You have this explode, where you can explode out to multiple levels depending on what you want to do. So if I select that, let me just select the model here. Now, it might take a little bit to generate just because Fusion got to do all the calculations. But if I go in here and I say, all right, I want to explode this to all the levels, it takes 1 second here. Like Fusion's got to kind of like just grab, all figuring out where all the components is right now, how they're all fitted together, and then it will actually go ahead and give you an explode view that again that you can animate. What can be nice, kind of like nice way to show how things are going together. I can hear that my laptop here is firing up, so it's definitely doing some calculations here. So I hope that this was a good introduction into the animation space. If you've never been in there before, I think my biggest tip is that when you go into animation, just take a step back and remember that little cupcake that you can scroll the timeline over, so you can move things around and position things the way you want. And then it is really just placing the timeline to where you want it to end, and then make your move of rotation, whatever you want, and then you can place it for the next rotation and things like that. Just wanted to show you that it actually did explode here. And when it comes out and explodes here, you can actually choose the kind of like explosion scale. So that's kind of like neat. How far do you want it to explode out? And you will also see that we get this trail visibility, but it's just a line that kind of like follows all the components here. So just how that is exploded out. So that is calculating that. Super good to know about animation if you are going to try to explain to somebody how maybe something works or how something is assembled. All right, I can see we got 50 people in the live stream. Really appreciate you taking the time. So it's Awesome Wednesday, and like I said earlier, if you just joined, I got my DiResta t-shirt on. So DiResta, what is that? If you've never heard of Jimmy DiResta is, I think he's becoming one of my heroes after watching his YouTube channel. Jimmy DiResta, he have done a lot. He has had his own TV show with his brother and all kinds of things. But I think the thing I respect the most about this guy, that really, and I met him once, and he's super cool. But I think the thing that inspires me the most about him is that he's a learner. He continually touches new space to become better at something, but it's really exciting. So I'll just find his channel here. So YouTube channel, Jimmy DiResta. If you search Jimmy DiResta, this has definitely become one of my favorite YouTube channels out there. He creates some really cool video, and I think he's a carpenter by trade. But he really makes a lot of things. Like this morning, he came out with this. He made a leather camera holster, and I will never ever work in leather. I have no interest in working in leather, and I will never have a camera holster. But I was just sitting at like 5:30 this morning on my phone, watching completely into this video where he shows how he makes something like this, and he's just so skilled. And like I said, many of the things he does is he's learning as he's going. So at one point he wanted to get into CNC machining, so he took John Saunders' CNC class so he could learn more about that. So this guy is just absolutely worth at least subscribe to his YouTube channel, watch some videos, and tell me if you don't get hooked on this guy. Also, he has a what is it called, Patreon site that I support too. Like I pay like $3 a month or something to support him for his content. He has a cool website. Also, yeah, that's the Patreon site. And he has like a shop where you can buy different things. This is where he's famous for his. He has these ice picks he makes. He makes all kinds of cool stuff, including, of course, this fabulous t-shirt that I'm wearing. That's where I got mine. So definitely go and check out Jimmy DiResta stuff. He is extremely cool. Let's just go back to Fusion here. And there we go. And there you can see that explosion that I just did with the explosion thing, and all the different lines that follows it. All right, guys. I hope that this was helpful. Awesome Wednesday. Thank you, Jimmy DiResta, for creating awesome content. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch these videos. I really appreciate it. If you like them, do the thumbs up. If you don't, hey, do the thumbs down. I always love the comments. I always read them. I try to reply to as many as I can. Also, my email address down in the description area. Check out Jimmy DeResta's link. I'm going to put that down in the description area when this video is uploaded. Tomorrow, we're going to talk CAM. So tomorrow, we're going to talk about collision. And we're going to talk about verification or simulation inside of CAM. So if you're not into CAM, take tomorrow off, come back Friday. 3 p.m. Eastern is when we're going to do these. I don't think we're going to do them next week at that time slot, but I got to look into that. So tomorrow is about collision detection when it comes to simulating your CAM toolpath. Probably one of the most important things out there to know about if you're doing CAM. I hope this was helpful. I'm going to do like I normally do. I'm going to end the broadcast. So if you're watching the recording, thank you so much for taking the time. I really appreciate it. I'm going to jump into the live stream and say hi to everybody and see if anybody have any questions or anything to add. So until the next time, have an awesome day.